So we've got a real situation happening here with I'm not sure if they're the faux left gatekeepers on Twitter or whether I haven't sort of followed every single person that's been tweeting most recently, but this celebration of Donald Trump being blocked from Twitter permanently, his account suspended, is celebrating that is a really huge mistake. A huge mistake, just like when people celebrated Alex Jones being blocked from various platforms. Let me read I'm going to explain why this is a big mistake and why people need to reassess. I mean, of course, I got tired of watching Trump tweeting the last 4 years, and it was dreadful. But this is a real mistake. Doing this, celebrating censorship of this any kind really, but this kind is just as bad. Even if you are sick of Donald Trump, this is a real mistake. This further entrenches Donald Trump's position, by the way, about the so-called radical left. This nonsense that he puts forward about the radical left in quotes. Lumping Joe Biden and people like that in as the radical left. Guess who's going to pay for this in the end? The actual real left, not the faux left gatekeepers on Twitter. None of those people are going to. They're cheering this on. The real left is going to suffer in the end and has been suffering. This is a gateway to that, and it always has been a gateway. From Alex Jones onwards, it's a gateway to censoring the left. So let's have a look at what Donald Trump said about this. I had to move because the sun was getting in my face. So Donald Trump said, and this is on Twitter just before he got banned. As I've been saying for a long time, Twitter has gone further and further in banning free speech, and tonight Twitter employees have coordinated with the Democrats and the radical left in removing my account from their platform to silence me and you, in capital letters, the 75 million great patriots who voted for me. Twitter may be a private company, but without the government's gift of Section 230, they would not exist for long. I predicted this would happen. We have been negotiating with various other sites and will have a big announcement soon while we look at the possibilities of building out our own platform in the near future. We will not be silenced. Twitter is not about free speech. They are all about promoting a radical left platform where some of the most vicious people in the world are allowed to speak freely. And then he says, stay tuned. So he keeps telling people to stay tuned. He said that he's sort of basically preempting some sort of announcement, which I imagine will be something like, I'm starting my own party, or he's got some deal with somebody where all the MAGA folks can go, or whatever. I noticed that Parler now, Google has removed Parler from their Google Play so that people can't use Parler on their Android phones or whatever. All these Silicon Valley private corporations, they make money off these people. They've been raking in the dough with Donald Trump and his followers for years now. The corporate-owned media has been raking in money from the drama of Trump, and also, the clickbait and all of that. They've been raking it in, as Les Moonves from CBS said before he was sacked. He said Trump is bad for the country and good for business. This is capitalism. Capitalism is fine, helping whatever. The capitalist class is just fine with promoting anybody. They don't care if they're bad for the country, and that includes the Democratic Party, which is very bad for the country. No, not just the US, of course, but all the other countries that are victims and in the crosshairs of US empire, which is a lot of countries. So, where was Twitter when Donald Trump was threatening the annihilation of Iran with 80 million people? Where was Twitter when Donald Trump killed Soleimani, illegally assassinated a very important general who was actually fighting ISIS, Qasem Soleimani? Where were they then? They didn't delete Donald Trump's account. Where were they when Obama was conducted the US-backed genocide in Yemen, which Trump continued on? They didn't delete Obama's account. Where were they when he was assassinating people every Tuesday? Where were they when he helped destroy Libya with Hillary Clinton?
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
Did it have anything to do with your visit?
No, I'm sure it did.
Did they delete Hillary Clinton? Did they delete Obama? I could go on and on and on. And these people are not only war criminals, but they're also denying people Medicare for all in a pandemic. And the faux left gatekeepers on Twitter have also assisted in cheering on the anti-Chinese propaganda like Matt Stoller, I understand. Even, people like Ilhan Omar promoting anti-Chinese propaganda. AOC not having anything to say about the overthrowing of a democratically elected government in Venezuela. And when Max Blumenthal asked her, could you give a comment? She said, we have to make a statement. She never ever made a statement. And all these people, they're all mealy-mouthed careerists. I'm sorry. But the faux left gatekeepers on Twitter, these blue-checked faux ones, the ones that pushed against Force the Vote, they are all a counter-revolutionary movement. They are counter-revolutionary movement. That's what they are. Controlled opposition as well. They are an enemy, basically, of moving forward, getting out of the status quo. And now they're cheering on these faux left gatekeepers, the blue check ones on Twitter in particular, cheering on the censorship of Donald Trump, the blocking of his account. And there may even be people on the real left who are doing that. And I say to them, please, this is very, very dangerous. Not only, and let's not even forget that this is actually basically erasing a historical document of all the different things that he has said, and like assassinating people, and you know what I mean. They're basically erasing an historical document when they suspend a Twitter account, and this is why the corporations like Twitter and Google, etc., need to be public utilities. Facebook, etc., they need to be public utilities. And this Section 230, from what I understand, maybe I'm wrong, but that's so that these private companies don't get sued for what people say, and Donald Trump wants that removed. The problem with that is, of course, then they start clamping down even more on leftists, real leftists, who are sort of basically trying to raise consciousness about imperialism and the imperialist wars and all the other the propaganda. There's so much propaganda now, trying to bring that to people's awareness. So, this and getting rid of Section 230 is basically also going to clamp down on the real left. So, it's all a big problem. And they're assisting in a fascist takeover. As I've said, the US has all the 14 defining characteristics of fascism, and this is one of them. Censorship of the real left. I'm not talking about Donald Trump's ridiculousness with the radical left being Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton and all of that. But that is how he's actually, by putting that out there, he's actually reinforcing to his base, that is, a lot of them are QAnoners, that a completely false narrative so that they continue to hate the left. They lump everybody together that is against the man, Donald Trump, and call it the radical left. I mean, it's such nonsense, it's laughable. But this is how ignorant a lot of people are now. This is what happens in a society that is moving very quickly towards fascism, where you have like a lightning rod like Donald Trump, where people have been abandoned by the duopoly, and these people now just want to burn shit down. They want to burn it down, and they think that using Donald Trump is going to help them. And so this is just reinforced what the MAGA people, the Q people, have been thinking all along, that it's them against everybody else, and that everybody is lumped in together with these war criminals like Biden, where the top cop Kamala Harris, the war criminal Hillary Clinton, the war criminal Obama, lumping us all in together with those people. It's a real problem. The ignorance there is ginormous. It's so bad. There are people on Twitter, blue check people, trying to lump the storming of the Capitol building yesterday with Russia. They're trying to make us out as if Russia is the problem. See, now everything is going to be blamed on Putin and Russia, because just in case people want to look at the real problem, which is the oligarchy, which is the duopoly, people in power on both sides of these major parties that have a stranglehold on anything changing, that are the capitalist class that want capitalism to go on ad infinitum till the ecocide of the planet. And as Lenin has said, capitalism and imperialism are inextricably linked. They're having to move towards fascism so that they can control the people when the people start to feel similar to what those people, those white supremacists who stormed the Capitol building, who are afraid of being replaced by minority groups and stuff. But also they've been abandoned by the duopoly in a pandemic, but even before the pandemic, black people and brown people have been abandoned for a lot longer than that. They've been victims of empire, victims of white supremacist capitalist patriarchy for hundreds of years. But now white people are experiencing it, and now they're starting to kick back. the duopoly doesn't care about you. They don't. And it may as well just be one big party. Anyway, I see Donald Trump is going to probably start his own party and burn down the GOP. They're kind of nothing without him in a way. People are trying to hedge their bets in the GOP, but they're nothing without them. There's numerous people trying to blame Russia for this Capitol storming situation, which is it's just so sad. The whole Russiagate thing is just so sad. Just before I came out here to do this, I noticed Manar Adley she's the chief editor of Mint Press News. She said on Facebook just before, and it's too bad we have to use these awful platforms, but I mean, that's why they need to be a public utility, because they just gobble up anything else that's competition, and they have the most users there. So, we're kind of left with this sort of like a censorship Atlantic Council controlled platform. Atlantic Council is a right-wing warmongering think tank, an imperialist think tank, which is informing Twitter and informing Facebook and the like. Basically hostage to these Silicon Valley platforms, and this is why we need to really push back on censorship. Yes, it's awful that Donald Trump was inciting violence, but all these war criminals incite violence all the time throughout the world. And the Capitol Hill building storming of the Capitol building is really just imperialism coming home to roost. Black people have been feeling the effects of what the U.S. does to other countries for a long time now, black and brown people. And now white people are experiencing that. And this is just imperialism coming home to roost, basically, what happened in the Capitol building yesterday. And the U.S. has been founded on white supremacist patriarchy. They were founded on that. The Second Amendment was to keep down uprising slaves and to kill indigenous people and steal their land. That's what the Second Amendment was for. Manar Adley has said, quote, "I've never seen so many people on the left cheer on censorship like they are now, with Twitter banning Trump for, quote, inciting violence and spreading misinformation, end quote. This is a political agenda by the neoliberal class that is actually a war against we, the people's right to free speech. This is not about defending Trump, but about bringing attention to how this agenda is at play. I would just like to remind everyone that Twitter does not give a rat's ass about social justice, human rights, or truth. If these social media giants truly cared about protecting us from violence and misinformation, it would have also banned propaganda arms of the US government and its proxies that have been spreading false information to propagandize the mass public into supporting genocidal warfare in countries like Yemen, Somalia, Sudan, and Mali. Our mainstream corporate media has for decades dehumanized and incited violence against Muslims, people of color, and people overseas in countries like Iran, Iraq, Venezuela, Cuba, and more by spreading misinformation that works in the interest of the military-industrial complex. Our political leaders have threatened literal genocide on social media platforms that go beyond Trump. Our allies in Israel and Saudi Arabia have used social media platforms to dehumanize Palestinians. And by the way, Manar Adley is a Muslim and a Palestinian American. Palestinians and justify apartheid and genocide in Yemen. Why haven't these leaders like MBS or Netanyahu been banned, MBS Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia? Please don't say, well, this is different. Trump deserves this, because if he deserves this, then those other politicians who come from the Democratic Party and politicians in Israel and Saudi Arabia deserve to be banned too. They won't be banned because Trump's banning is political. Sorry, there's a few autocorrect problems there. Because Trump's ban is political. The left is being used to justify the attack on our First Amendment. Be careful what you wish for. Social media tech giants cannot be the arbitrators of truth, especially when they are in bed with the very political establishment that profits off of wars and make up the 1%. The fact checkers and censors that work for these social media tech giants are actually neoliberal think tanks that are funded by weapons manufacturers. Please keep this in mind. And Adama Baraka, who was the vice presidential pick in the 2016 presidential race by the Green Party, and also he is a contributor to the Black Agenda Report, and he is from Black Alliance for Peace. Adama Baraka said, he's a black leftist basically. Adama Baraka said, black radicals reacting with glee to the announcement by a private capitalist corporation in alignment with global white supremacy to block Trump from Facebook and getting away with it. What do you think they have in store for black activists opposed to this state and system? Exactly. You know, this is just creeping fascism. It's not even that creeping, really. We're basically fueling further continuation of Donald Trump and people like him, because as I said in my recent video, this is going to be harness the outrage and the discontent and the white supremacy and all of that. This is going to be fueled by future competent fascists beyond Trump. And this just helps reinforce the narrative that it just reinforces all the Q narratives. It just reinforces the Donald Trump propaganda. And anybody on the real left who is cheering this on, we are engaging in the collective suicide of any kind of people's movement through the censorship of any of these individuals, which always comes back to bite us.